The slipper wasn't mine. Act 3. A glass slipper. A hidden truce. The slipper fit, but it didn't sing. It didn't sparkle. And it definitely wasn't mine. This love story feels almost forbidden. Let me show you why. The slipper never really mattered. They were looking for a girl. That's how these things always start. A prince, a shoe, and the desperate search for someone whose entire worth could apparently be summed up in the shape of her foot. The castle had dispatched guards, messengers, and a velvet-lined box holding a single glass slipper, like it was an ancient relic instead of something someone had literally run out of. At first, we thought maybe he wouldn't go through with it. Maybe the prince would remember the feeling, not just the moment, and follow the thread back to me. But hope is slippery, and the slipper wasn't mine. Everywhere, girls were lined up like laundry, blushing, preening, some pretending their foot was smaller than it was, others just hoping he'd look at them first, so they could pretend it had been a fate. We watched from the rafters as the slipper was slipped onto ankle after ankle, and was each not quite fit. I watched the prince's shoulder curl inward, like the search wasn't bringing him closer to something, but hollowing him out from the inside. He didn't speak much. Only once, when a girl toe barely brushed the heel of the shoe, he murmured,
Not quite.
It wasn't cruel. It was wistful, like someone humming a song with the wrong words. Finn and I had no plan, just instinct. We had to get back to Ella before they got it wrong forever. The stepsisters went feral, ankles wrapped, corsets tighter. One tried soaking her foot in milk and honey, claiming it made the skin compliant. Another stuck ice cubes between her toes for slimming. Both screamed. Ella stayed silent. She watched them whirl around like bees in perfume. Didn't speak. Didn't move. Didn't even check if the slipper would fit her. When we arrived, the stepsisters were already elbowing their way to the front. The older one tried first. She twisted her foot sideways, gritting her teeth until her face matched the shade of her gown. The younger one shoved her aside, tried stuffing cotton at the tip of the slipper, but the shoe refused them both. It just sat there, patient, indifferent, like it already knew it was waiting for someone else. The prince turned, one foot on the step, one breath from leaving. And then, chaos. Bursts erupted from the roof beams.
Ella! You have to meet Ella! She's here!
They spiraled above the guards. And below them, the mice moved. Some dashed straight for the fireplace where Ella still sat, knees drawn to her chest, watching the room unravel with a kind of tired grace. But not me, not Finn. We went the other way, straight for the prince. And then I grabbed the hem of his coat, pulled. He stopped. Finn scrambled up the other side and tugged twice.
Hey, Your Highness,
He squeaked.
you're about to miss the point.
The prince looked down, not confused, not scared, just still, like the moment was holding its breath. Then, across the room, Ella stood. Barefoot, unflinching, quiet in the way that makes people lean forward. She didn't make a speech. She didn't plead. The prince turned, not because of the birds, not because of the mice, because something shifted in the room. The kind of stillness that falls just before magic speaks. She walked forward, like the slipper was calling her. Like maybe it had always been hers. The slipper was still cradled in a guard's gloved hands. He looked at the prince. The prince nodded. And Ella slipped her foot inside. Slipped on was the sound of truth. It didn't sparkle. It didn't sing. It just fit. The room sighed. Someone clapped. The stepsisters fainted in opposite directions. And I stepped back into the shadows, feeling a story close like a book not written for me. But then, the prince looked up, past the cheers, past the fuss, right to where I stood on the stale rail. And for the second time, he saw me, not as a mouse, not as a mistake, but as someone who had been there, who had mattered. His gaze didn't linger, but it lended. And then, he stepped down beside Ella. The crowd pressed in, but he only saw her.
Her name?
He asked, turning to a guard. The man stammered. Ella blinked, then smiled shyly.
It's Ella,
She said softly. A hush. Then cheers again. Louder now. Wilder. The slipper had found its story, but the prince still looked at her like something didn't quite click. He kneels and gently reaches out. He lifts me first. In his hands, warmth, care, awe. Then instead of a cage or a pocket, he opens the velvet-lined box that had carried the glass slipper. Inside, a soft corner waits. He places us there, like we are part of the fairy tale. We rode back together. The carriage rocks gently as it nears the palace. Finn and I, huddled in the crystal box like stowaways. Nobody questioned it. Not the guards, not Ella, not even the prince.
You left a note.
The prince's voice was low, like he was asking the knight, not her. Bella tilted her head.
a note.
Someone did.
He said.
Was it him? The man you came with? Your horseman?
Ella blinked, looked down right at me, and then at Finn. Her smile softened.
I didn't leave a note.
She said gently. The prince nodded once, but he didn't say anything else. He just looked at me, not startled, not unsure, just steady. Then reached into his coat, pulled out a crumbled scrap of parchment, the one I tried to finish, folded it once, twice, and slid it gently into the box beside us. That night, the palace shimmered like a dream we weren't meant to stay in. Gold railings, marble floors, candlelight that danced until morning. Their servants has brought out tiny crumbs just for us. Soft cake, glazed nuts, sugared fruit, no bigger than my paw. Finn sat on the folded napkin beside the velvet box, eyes wide, cheeks stuffed like he was saving joy for later.
I didn't even know food could taste like this.
He murmured between bites. He was happy. He had never tasted anything that didn't come from a pantry floor or torn paperback. And now, he was in heaven. I smiled, but it didn't reach my chest, because even in the glow of chandeliers, I felt a tug, a whisper of something unfinished. So I slipped away, climbed onto the windowsill, and looked out. The town glowed in the distance, tiny rooftops, chimney smoke curling like questions. I don't know how long I sat there, but Finn found me eventually. I didn't turn to him, just whispered, "We don't belong here." He didn't answer right away.
But they like us here.
He said. I nodded. But that's not the same. He crept closer, licking one last bite of icing from his paw.
We helped her, didn't we?
We did, I said.
So what now?
I smiled. We go home. We tell the others. We find a way to turn the attic into a ballroom, just for us. Finn blinked.
Even without magic.
Especially without magic. He looked at me for a long time, then nodded.
Okay,
He said.
let's go.
And for the first time, I didn't ache at the sound. We were home. The attic was dusty again, quiet again, just the way we left it. I sat by the window. The palace belonged to Ella now, and we belonged to the part of the story people didn't remember. And that was okay. It was evening when we heard it. Wheels, hoops, velvet curtain brushing against wood, a carriage, stopping outside our very house. Finn bolted upright.
Is that?
I didn't move. Outside, the town was still holding its breath, waiting for an announcement, a wedding, a new queen, but none had come. Inside the carriage, the prince leaned forward and whispered,
The boy. The one she ran with. The one who left a note. I want to see him.
He didn't say my name, but I knew he remembered. A shimmer crossed the window span, then a voice.
You didn't go to the tree.
Fairy Godmouse said, hopping onto the cracked windowsill beside me.
Didn't need to.
Came the godmother's voice.
He found his story without it.
They looked at each other, then at me. A wink, a hum, a pulse of something old. The attic glowed. My skin prickled, my breast cocked, and then I stood. Not as a mouse, not as a mistake, not for one night only, but as human me. The door opened. The prince stepped inside. He didn't look surprised. He smiled, like he'd been walking toward this moment the whole time.
I was looking for you.
He said. And then he kissed me. Soft, certain. Like maybe this was the ending, or the beginning. The slipper had always been pointing toward. The prince made the announcement the very next morning. No trumpets. Just true,
I danced with a girl that night,
he said.
but I fell for someone else.
Gasp rippled across the courtyard, not in scandal, but in wonder.
His name is Mika,
The prince continued.
and we're getting married.
Some stared, some smiled, some clutched their pearls, a little tighter, but no one stopped it. Because something in his voice made it impossible to argue. They called it the first fairy tale wedding of its kind, not because it was two princes, but because it was built on honesty, on choice, on someone not written in the story, being chosen anyway. Ella, she didn't mind. Not even a little. The palace gave her her own wing, full of books, blue dresses, and quiet balconies. She laughed more now. And Finn, well, Finn stayed a mouse. He had no desire to be anything else. He lived in the royal pantry, with full diplomatic immunity and the twice-weekly delivery of fresh scones. And as for me, I ruled, not from a throne, but beside someone who never forgot to feel off my hand. We ruled with kindness, with laughter, with no more hiding in rafters. And if you ever ask how our story ends, it doesn't. Not really. Because some fairy tales don't close with a kiss. They open with one. And live happily ever after. If you stayed until the very end, thank you. Not just for listening, but for holding space for a mouse who has never meant to matter. If this story made you smile, or ache a little, or feel like maybe the smallest heart still deserved the biggest magic, then maybe it was always yours too. Feel free to like, subscribe, or leave a note. And if there are other stories you want whispered your way, queer ones, quiet ones, almost forgotten ones, you know where to find me. This has been The Slipper Wasn't Mine. Until next time.